Maya stood by her locker, her hands trembling slightly as she gripped the straps of her backpack. The hallway buzzed with after-school chatter, lockers slamming and laughter echoing through the air. Prom posters decorated every inch of the corridor, taunting her with bright colors and glittering fonts. She had never been one to seek attention, but today, after days of coaxing from her best friend, she had done something she never imagined. She had asked someone to prom. And he had laughed in her face. Chris was the school's golden boy, tall, loud, confident, the kind who was surrounded by a crowd wherever he went. Maya had watched him from afar for years, always believing he was out of reach. But after mustering every ounce of courage she'd approached him that morning, heart pounding, voice barely above a whisper. His response had stung worse than she thought possible. "Prom? With you?" he scoffed. "What is this, a joke?" The people around him burst into laughter. She stood frozen, humiliation flooding her cheeks. She turned and walked away as fast as she could, swallowing the lump in her throat. She didn't cry. Not yet. But it didn't end there. By the end of the day, the story had spread. Rumors exaggerated her words, mocking the way she spoke, how she blushed, how she begged Chris for a date. Girls rolled their eyes as she passed. Boys snickered behind her back. It was worse than rejection, it was public shaming. And then came the final blow. As she reached her locker to grab her books and get out before the teasing could start again, 3 girls cornered her. They were always in Chris's orbit. One of them, Rachel, had clearly wanted him to herself. Her face curled in disgust as she sneered at Maya. "So, you think you're prom material now?" Rachel said, her voice thick with sarcasm. Maya didn't respond. She kept her eyes low, pretending not to hear, hoping they'd walk away. But they didn't. Instead, Rachel stepped forward and yanked Maya's bag off her shoulder. The others joined in. One held her wrist. Another reached for her hoodie. Maya struggled, confused and afraid. In seconds, she heard the sound of fabric tearing. Her shirt ripped right down the side. Maya gasped and backed away, clutching herself, her face flushing with shock and shame. A few students nearby turned to look, some laughing, some recording. Something snapped inside her. Not just embarrassment, not just fear, something deeper. Maya had spent most of her life being quiet, overlooked, and underestimated. But what no one knew, not even Chris, was that she had been training in Taekwondo since she was 10. Her father had enrolled her after a tough year of bullying in middle school, hoping she'd find confidence and strength. For years, she trained in silence. Kicks. Blocks. Stances. Control. She had never used it outside the dojo. Never had to. Until now. She dropped her backpack. Straightened her spine. And looked Rachel in the eyes. "Touch me again," she said calmly, "and I promise you'll regret it." Rachel laughed and stepped forward again, reaching for her shoulder. It happened in a blur. Maya pivoted on her foot, lifted her leg high, and delivered a perfect roundhouse kick to Rachel's upper arm, just enough to knock her down, not to seriously hurt her. Rachel hit the ground with a stunned yelp. Her friends backed away instantly, shocked and wide-eyed. The hallway fell silent. Phones dropped. Gasps echoed. Even Chris, who had just turned the corner, stopped in his tracks. Maya didn't wait for applause. She picked up her backpack, adjusted her torn shirt, and walked toward the exit with her head held high. No tears. No fear. No more silence. The aftermath came quickly. Teachers reviewed the footage. Rachel and her friends were suspended for bullying and harassment. Maya was called in too, but after reviewing the situation and seeing how controlled her actions were, she wasn't punished. In fact, many staff members quietly commended her for defending herself. That night, her story spread all over social media. But this time, the comments were different. "She's a legend." She shut them down